This is Alabama Politics with Steve Flowers, an in-depth interview with Alabama's top political newsmakers. Now, from the studios of Troy University, here is Steve Flowers.
I'm Steve Flowers, and welcome to Alabama Politics. Folks, we have as our guest tonight young Daniel Sparkman, who is former press secretary to Governor Kay Ivey, was for 3 or 4 years, and he graciously stepped aside in order to run for a House seat here in Montgomery. He is running for the open seat of Representative Demetri Palisos, who died earlier this year from a heart attack at 68. House District 74 is mostly in Montgomery, the city of Montgomery. And Daniel is running as a Republican, as are several others. It's a Republican seat. Matter of fact, 78 out of the 105 seats in the House are held by Republicans. But Daniel, we appreciate you being with us tonight.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Daniel was actually born and raised in Walker County, now, and went to the University of Alabama. Now, did you and your wife, where's she from?
Well, my wife is from Dothan down in the Wiregrass. Our family's got a nice pecan business down there, shoot pecan right there on the circle. And we actually met here in Montgomery while she was interning with the legislature, but she's an Auburn girl. So I forgive her for that. No, I'm just kidding.
But y'all met while y'all
we met here in Montgomery, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Y'all got a brand new baby boy.
We do. I tell you what, January 11th completely changed my life, but absolutely for the better.
It will. Having a child will make you grow up in a hurry. But now, what'd y'all name him?
Well, she actually, somehow, I convinced her to let me name him after myself. So he's Daniel Sparkman Jr., but we call him Dane.
Yeah.
Yep.
Daniel, what about, you never have gone by Dan, you always go by Daniel?
Well, I do, because my grandfather's name's Daniel, and he goes by Dan.
Okay.
So I go by Daniel.
He's not Daniel Sparkman, though, is he?
No, he's not. He's a Power.
Okay.
Dan Power. Yeah.
But you grew up around Dora and Walker County?
My daddy still lives there, yeah. Yep.
Writes for the Mountain Eagle?
He writes sports columns for the Mountain Eagle, yeah.
Did you always like sports growing up?
I have. I've always been a huge sports fan, college sports especially.
I am too.
But then my grandmother, she got me into the Atlanta Braves, so a big Braves fan.
Is he a Braves fan? I think a lot of older people in Alabama are. But now, the House seat, tell our folks where that House seat is in detail and where you live in the district.
Okay, well, I live in Dalrada, which is a community here in Montgomery, actually about 3 streets over from where Demetri Palisos lives.
It's the biggest part of that district, Dalrada, isn't it?
It is. It's a big community. But it goes from just about the midtown, so Ann Street in Montgomery, along Atlanta Highway, all the way out, down Bell, and down Taylor Road all the way to the interstate.
All in the city of Montgomery?
All in the city. It's a unique district because it's in the city, so it's almost kind of equivalent to a city council seat. I mean, really, the districts are different, but the politics are the same. So this district, it's all about building relationships with your community, and I've lived in the district for 20 years now.
That's a long time.
It is. And so
you live in that particular neighborhood for 20 years?
I have not. I've always lived in the district. My mom and grandmother live over in Carroll Villa.
They live here too.
In the district, yeah. And my grandmother and grandfather built one of the first houses in Carroll Villa in the mid-'60s.
And that's in the district?
And that's in the district,
That's
so
good.
I have deep roots in District 74. And my passion has always been for people. I was a journalist for 12 years before the last 5 that I spent in the governor's office. But I love telling people stories and getting to meet people. And now I feel like I'll be able to transition to helping people, meeting people, talking to them, getting their needs and their desires, and taking that information and being their voice in the Alabama State House. That's what I want to do. I'll give out my phone number and my email address because I want people to contact me and be able to have a true voice in the State House. I'm not going to be somebody who just votes along with a special interest or something, but I will say that I'm going to talk to different associations and different groups and see how it affects their constituents. But my #1 priority is the folks who live in District 74. because those are my neighbors, and that's an area that I have a deep passion to improve. That is my home, always has been in Montgomery since I moved here in 2000 to go to Booker T. Washington Magnet High School. I am a product of public education in Montgomery, and I want my son to be able to go to public school in Montgomery. But right now, that's a trend that is going down.
No question about it.
We have got to do something to improve public education in Montgomery. I am glad that the State Department of Education took over the Montgomery public school system, because we've got to do something to get them back on the right track.
Yeah. What about, do you think that's one of your priorities as the representative of 74 will be to try to help Montgomery's school system?
Oh, absolutely.
That'd be one of the biggest things.
Absolutely. We've got to do something, because, Steve, if we don't do something about the schools, and then we, God forbid, lose Richard Shelby, Maxwell Air Force Base and Gunner Annex, we'll either lose one or both of them.
Because the people are realize that the education level here is
absolutely,
it's really hurting.
Because the airmen that come down to work at Maxwell and Gunner are leaving their families wherever they were stationed before, so they can keep their education there. And they're not bringing their families. They're not moving down here like we used to see. A lot of folks in their 50s and 60s have worked at Maxwell and are retiring in Montgomery. But now
you don't see that trend continuing.
No.
You know that I had Todd Strange on the show a year or so ago, and I was talking to him about the demise. There was the state government at that time was going through a downturn.
Yes.
And I said, I guess that's hurt your city. I had always assumed that state government was the biggest employer in Montgomery. He says, no, it's not. It's Maxwell Gunner. And second to that's Hyundai. So you got Maxwell Gunner is the biggest. But what you said a while ago, and you having grown up here, you saw it firsthand, and Todd brought this out. You have a lot of military retirees here, which are the heart and soul of this community. I mean, those are good earning people. They're active in their churches, and they've just said, look, this is a great climate. It's a great place to live. You know, I'm just going to retire here.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that trend sort of demise too a little bit.
We are. We're seeing younger people in their 30s or 40s who are getting stationed at Maxwell, and then they're leaving and going somewhere else. They're not retiring here like folks used to because the school system, they don't want to stick around. So we've got to do something to improve our school system. We've got to improve the infrastructure of our schools. We've got to provide the resources that teachers and administrators need to educate our children. And that's how we're going to keep Maxwell Air Force Base here. That's how we're going to keep Gunner Annex.
You're right. After Shelby leaves, you know, we're
yeah.
I mean,
we could be in our world hurt.
Yeah. Well, he's got 4 more years.
Yeah.
And he's in good health. I spent a lot of time with him, and he's in good health. He'll be 85 May 6th. But he's in great health and great shape. Works out every day.
Yeah.
But back to your district, state employees are important in that district too.
Oh, absolutely. I was out last Saturday walking through Dalrata, actually, and I met 2 state employees. They are great folks. I mean, up until a couple weeks ago, I was a state employee. So I understand. We fought hard in the governor's office to get them pay raises the last 2 years. I mean, we're still fighting this year, but the House has passed the general fund budget, which had the pay raise included in it. So state employees went far too long without an increase in pay, and I'm glad that we're trying to correct that.
It's important for your district. I guarantee that. But I guarantee Demetri knew that.
Oh, yeah.
Because he probably had a lot of people come to his restaurant that work for the state.
He did, and that's the other thing. He's a small business owner, so he understood economic development, and that's something I've been proud to play a role in over the last 5 years in my public service, is helping to attract new businesses to the area.
You work closely with Governor Ivey in that regard.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the communications office is a vital role in any governor's office because they have their hands in just about everything. And but economic development is one area that I'm passionate about. We've got to attract more businesses, but you can't do that without a good education system.
Daniel, you know, talking about the governor's office and you being there, Joe Bonner to me is one of the best people that Kay could have brought on board. And she's fortunate to have him, not just because of his acumen and ability as a gentleman demeanor, but their roots go back so deeply together in Wilcox County that she's never not known Joe Bonner.
That's right. They
And
grew
Joe
up
Bonner's
together.
never not known Kay Ivey.
They grew up together. But I tell you what, they're a good complement for each other. He lets her be governor, and he supports her, and he's got the roots and the connections with all the folks in Montgomery that he's able to help guide policy. And as you said, he's a gentleman, so he does it with great decorum and a great demeanor. I've thoroughly enjoyed working with him and just knowing him. I knew him before he joined the governor's office. He is a great guy, and I've enjoyed working with him.
He really is. He was a great congressman for the first district. Did you? You were with the other. You always been in the governor's office
Right.
even when Kay was running, when she
Right.
was lieutenant governor, and she just asked you to stay on.
She did. I was one of the first 3 people to be reappointed from the old governor's staff.
I like Kay. She's doing a great job as governor. You were involved with the infrastructure thing too. Tell us about
Yeah.
all that.
And
You
that-
saw it all developing firsthand.
I
didn't
did.
you?
I was in on those meetings, but I want to tell you, she's an inspiration. I told her that when we discussed my departure, which she wasn't real happy about because she didn't want
She
to
didn't
lose
really
me.
want you to run with that.
Yeah, she didn't want to lose me.
Uh-huh.
But I told her, I said, you're an inspiration to me. A leader like you is what I want to be. I want to be able to make the hard decisions that are going to make Alabama better and not do it with making promises and not do it with special interests. You know, it's important to just know what's right and to do it. And that's what I want to do.
You watched the vote count develop on that thing too.
Yes, yes. So we had several meetings with stakeholder groups, and the governor called each legislator on her. I mean, she talked to each one of them personally, and explain everything. That's the way to do it. You don't just ram it down somebody's throat. You talk to them, explain what's happening, and why infrastructure is so needed in Alabama. I mean, we have roads and bridges. Well, bridges specifically. We have bridges that are 60, 70 years old. And we're expecting folks to drive across these, take their families across these bridges. I mean, they've got wood underneath them. They're not even steel girders.
They're old Big Jim roads.
Yeah, right, right.
Old Big Jim Folsom paved all the farm and market roads in the state. What people don't know when I say farm and market, it was like at that time when Big Jim was governor in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, the farmers, most everybody in the state farmed, and they lived on dirt roads. And they could not, if a gully washer came and washed their road out, their crops were gone for the year. They couldn't get them to the market.
That's exactly the problem.
And some of those roads that people are traveling in rural areas right now are farm to market roads Big Jim built. By the way, tell your wife that Ross Clark Circle was one of the first roads Big Jim built.
Was it really?
Yeah,
I
and it's
didn't know
named after his uncle, Ross Clark, who was in the insurance business with him.
Wow.
Ross Clark was from Dothan, and that's the reason Big Jim moved to Coleman. Is he was born and raised in the Wiregrass. Big Jim was born and raised in Elba in the Wiregrass, and then in Coffee County, and then as a grown man, Ross Clark got him to go to Coleman. He made some money selling insurance up there and got to know a lot of people. So he really had 2 home areas where you can use that same theory in your house race. You can tell folks in Carrollville, you from there, and you can tell people in Dalrata, you from there.
Right.
Because Big Jim went in for governor, he could say, I'm from the Wiregrass, what it was, you know. Because you grew up in Carrollville, didn't you?
I did.
Or Dalrata. And so you can claim 2 home areas in the district.
That's very true.
Some ain't lived there all that time, have they?
No, that's right.
Uh-huh.
But I've been there 20 years now.
So you're doing a lot of shoe leather, knocking on doors.
Yes, that's the important thing. You got to do that. Well, one, just to reintroduce yourself to folks and meet new folks in the community, but get out there and talk to people. That's what it's all about. It's not about getting your name on billboards and such as that. It's about meeting and building those relationships.
Don't tell Shelby not to buy billboards. Every time he runs for the Senate, when he ran for the state Senate the first time in 1970, people buying billboards was a big thing.
Okay.
And Shelby bought billboards all over Tuscaloosa. And then when he got ready to run last time, I was talking to Tom Young, who managed his campaign up from Huntsville, used to be his AA. I said, Tom, he's trying to buy those billboards. He's just trying to buy every one of them. I said, Alexander Chenard's already beat him out there, and Chenard had all the billboards. all these lawyers have all the billboards. I said, Shippy, how you gonna buy them? He said, well, I got some. You know, billboards don't do any good.
Not this day and age, no. I mean,
What you're doing is way to win a house seat.
yes, I fully think so. And then just a little extra advertising. We're going to advertise on Facebook and such as that, digital media.
Social media is a big thing now.
That's where it's at nowadays.
Now, is all of them running young like you? There's some older ones running?
Now, there's a good age range of folks. Honestly, I don't know their ages outright, but maybe 40s, 50s, that range. I'm definitely the youngest.
You are the youngest?
However, I do think that I have the most experience in government.
I think you probably do, as far as being in government.
That's the one thing. I won't have to go in and start on-the-job training.
You know all the other legislators.
I know a lot of legislators. My wife's best friend's father is a legislator.
Who is that?
That'd be Representative Paul Lee from
Oh, yeah.
Dothan.
Paul, my good friend.
Yeah.
I love that Wiregrass group.
I know.
You
They're
know,
a good
Steve
group.
Klaus is my best friend.
Really?
Our mamas were best friends.
Wow.
I tell you how far we went back. Miss Ruth Klaus was Ruth Price from Troy, and she and my mama grew up best friends.
Wow.
And I've never not known Steve. We've never, even though he's quick to tell you I'm 4 years older than he is. We played together as little boys.
Okay.
And my mama had 2 children, and she named us Steve and Kay, and his mama named him Steve and Kay.
Oh my gosh.
And then you fast forward, I helped him when he first ran for the House. I was already in the House.
Okay.
And in my district was all of Pike County in the northern part of Dale. So I met him. See, he had Ozark and the rest of the county. He's from Ozark. So we had the same district. And people would actually confuse us, Steve Flowers and Steve Klaus. We both were named Steve. Even today, he'll say to me, I stopped at a gas pump heading up here, and somebody say, I liked your column this week. And I say, well, I stopped in Ozark, and people say, I'm glad you voted for that gas tax or something like that or something, you know. But Steve's he's chairman of Ways and Means now.
He is. Very important man.
You want to try to be on what committees you want to try to be on?
Well, I would like.
Be tough in the middle of the term. What was Dimitri on?
He was on local legislation, well, of course, in Montgomery County, but the small business.
But long term, what committee you think's best for your district?
Education, really.
You want to be on education?
That's
But if you
important
could,
to
you
me.
might want to be on education and Ways and Means with
Yes.
Bill Poole.
Yes.
I've never seen anybody as university light as Bill Poole is.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I watched him handle that infrastructure bill, and I know Katie must have noticed it too, but I think maybe he was one of the spearheads of that whole thing.
He was. So I want to disclaimer, my wife actually interned for Bill Poole and the House Ways and Means. But yes, he actually wrote the bill.
That's what he told me. He said he actually wrote the bill, and he's so well respected that you couldn't have had a better sponsor.
No, absolutely not, because everybody in the legislature knows that he is meticulous and he is going to do it as cleanly as possible, and he's going to explain it to you and not try to get anything over on you.
One thing that was really impressive with Governor Ivey's passes that package was her encompassing the African Americans as Democrats, and that she got almost all the Democrats in the House with 2 or 3 exceptions, and 1 exception in the Senate.
That's right.
It was amazing, and I had people tell me that she bonded with Anthony Daniels.
I think so.
That she really went in there, and Kay already had a great relationship with a lot of the senators. Had been lieutenant governor and presiding over the Senate. Really a lot better than Governor Bentley did.
Yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Governor Bentley was in the House, but he really didn't have the kind of.
Well, he wasn't there long enough.
No, he wasn't. Kay. Well, the Senate's a small body, 35 members, and they worked together and everything, and so she really had a lot of. Greg Reed and Jabbo and them are real close to Kay.
Yep.
And Marsh too. They're all close to Kay, but back to Bill Poole. You want to try to be on his committee if you can.
Oh yeah, I would love that. I would love to work on that because education is one of my passions, along with workforce development, and then just the economy in general, helping grow the economy.
That's what Kay's been doing.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's another thing that we haven't talked about. We've kind of mentioned Maxwell and Gunner. My best friend from high school is active duty Army. He's been in there about 15 years now. And so he's been stationed in Germany twice, and he's been in Hawaii, which is overseas for the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And he has always, as I've been in government, said to me, Daniel, can you do anything and get them to look at active duty military stationed overseas that have to pay state income tax? So they have to pay Alabama income tax being in Germany or Hawaii or wherever they are. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I want to look at when I get in there, is I want to look at active duty military paying state income tax if they're not actually serving in Alabama. Now he's in Fort Rucker, so he should pay state income tax.
Yeah. Well, now you don't want to include guardsmen in that full-time active and
well, let's start with active duty, because if you go take too big of a swing, you might kill the tax base.
Well, you really might, because we got a lot of people in the Guard in Alabama.
Right. So we got to look at it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm doing it, I'm full force on it. I'm going to look at it and be strategic and be purposeful and work with folks to see if it's feasible to do that. But that's definitely something we should give back to our active duty military.
I agree. One thing that people are not aware of that you're going to have to address if you go into that seat is reapportionment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to be faced with reapportionment. I don't know whether Montgomery has lost population or not, but Huntsville has grown so much.
Yes.
And you're going to see that when the census is taken, that the population in the state is sort of drifting northward in the state. And I don't know how it's going to affect Montgomery in the legislative districts or the congressional districts, one or the other. But
well, I'll tell you right now, District 74 is one of the lower populated districts.
It is
in
already?
The state already.
Already.
It's got about 45,000 citizens in it.
And what's the average?
It's upper closer to 48,000.
What was that, the last census, 45?
It was.
So it could be even worse than that now.
It could be, right. Well, that's the thing about the census. Everybody out there has got to take part in the census, because Alabama is still growing, but it's not growing as fast as other states.
No, it's not.
So what's going to end up happening is we're going to lose a congressional seat, and we're going to lose billions of dollars that go along with it. People don't realize when we talk about state budget's only a fraction of, for like Medicaid. Medicaid's primarily supported by the federal government.
Right.
So I don't think people really understand how much money we are at stake to lose if we don't have full participation in the census.
Is your wife able to get out and campaign with you? The little baby's too little to at first. You got to cast iron with him, hadn't you?
He gets to ride in the stroller, and they walk with me.
Y'all do get him out at 3
We
months
do,
old?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
I bet people stop and look at that baby, don't they?
Oh, yeah. He's a good-looking kid, though. I mean,
He smile out on him?
Oh, yeah.
Does he?
He takes after his dad. But yeah, he's a big smile, happy kid. Yeah.
Did they fill your job at the press secretary when you left?
As of right now, they have not. But I told them they needed to.
Old Joe Bonner's a good man, though.
He is. He is. I enjoyed working with him, and I really enjoyed, I enjoyed working in the governor's office in general. But I tell you what, working for Governor Ivey was pretty special.
Who are some of the other folks over there in the governor's office?
Like deputy chief of staff.
Yeah, all that sort of thing.
Well, actually, I was thinking.
Joe's chief of staff.
He is. Liz Fillmore is deputy chief of staff.
That's Bill Fillmore's wife.
Yes, sir.
William Fillmore's wife. Now, he works in the governor's office too.
He does. He does. He works. He's the House liaison.
Did they meet up there? Or
they met at Troy, actually.
That's right.
Yep.
Now, I know William's daddy.
Yeah.
He's
from Daleville.
Dale County. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've known him all his life. He's actually way off Kendall Wallace.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
His grandmama was kin to George Wallace.
That's pretty
Matter of
neat.
fact, her name was a Wallace.
Okay. That's pretty neat.
Tell old Fillmore that.
I will next time I talk to him.
Yeah,
I bet he knows.
He's kin to George Wallace.
Wow. Well,
he knows it, but I mean, you didn't know that. But you kin to John Sparkman.
That's right. The good Senator John Sparkman. Actually, he was also the Democratic nominee for vice president in 1952.
Sure
That's
was.
right. But yeah, he and my grandfather are cousins. He's from Hartsville area, and my side of the branch moved down to the Walker, Jefferson County area.
John Sparkman was one of Alabama's greatest senators.
He was fantastic.
He did a lot for, well, as a matter of fact, he's the reason Redstone Arsenal is there.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, I've told Huntsville people they ought to name it town Huntsville, Sparkmanville. I told them that.
Yeah.
I said, y'all name
like
it
it.
Sparkman, because he was the father. However, if they were accurate today, Shelby's sustained a lot of that stuff. They ought to name it Sparkman Shelbyville. Sparkman slash Shelbyville, because they both have been instrumental in the growth of Huntsville. You know, but you know, a lot of our congressional delegation were responsible for our military place. Tell your wife about the Lost Clark Circle.
Oh, I will.
In
I
Dothan,
absolutely will.
Being a Dothan girl.
I'll see her in a little bit.
Well, tell our viewers in the last minute why they ought to vote for you for that House seat, District 74.
Well, folks in District 74, I am here to represent the people. The people are my passion. I love getting out there, getting to know folks, and I want to be your voice in the State House. I want to take your issues and your concerns straight to the State House, to the House of Representatives, and get something done. I'm not somebody who's going to be big interest groups and do what they want. I'm going to take everybody's concerns into consideration and make a decision that's best for our people, the state as a whole.
Well, thank you, Daniel. We thank Daniel Sparkman, the candidate for House District 74, Governor Kay, his former press secretary, for being our guest tonight. And we thank you, viewers, for watching. Hope you tune in again next week for Alabama Politics. Thank you. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.
It was Ben Hurd.